Thank you, everyone, for joining the Congenital Heart Surgery Database User Group call for this week. On the call today, we have from the STS, we have myself, Leanne Jones. We have Carol Crone, Senior Clinical Manager for the STS National Databases. We have Donna McDonald, Director of Quality. We have Addie Dolan on from the STS. I think that's it from the STS side. From the IQVIA side, we have Melanie Bent, we have Jeanette, Joe, Rhonda Murphy. I think that's all we have from the IQVIA team today. So for today's agenda, I'll cover a couple of quick housekeeping items. I'll provide an STS harvest and AQO update, and then I'll turn things over to Melanie and her team to provide the IQVIA update. And then finally, we'll finish up with our Q&A portion of the webinar. Again, just a friendly reminder to please submit any questions via the Q&A function. And also, we have a few polling questions during today's presentation, so just be ready and get your polling fingers ready to get ready to answer our questions. So let's go ahead and get started. For our housekeeping items, again, just a reminder that the August training manual was updated and posted out on the website. Our September updates will be coming next week. Our Congenital Heart Surgery Database New Data Manager webinar series begins this week. Our first webinar is scheduled for Thursday at 11 a.m. Central. And again, for anyone that may not be able to join the webinar, the series will be recorded and posted out on the STS webinar page. These sessions will be beneficial for our new data managers. We'll be discussing, kind of going back to our basics for our first webinar. We'll be discussing how to access your resources, how to use your data specifications, your software specs. We'll go over the training manual. We'll cover the process for submitting clinical questions. We'll walk through the DCF and work through understanding the DCF, as well as several other numerous topics. So we hope you're able to join us. All right. Again, I wanted to review the current harvest information. I know you've all seen this information again, but I want to continue to share it each user group call. On August the 5th, the Congenital Database Manager community was notified of the plans for the 2020 harvest. And again, due to the release of the platform, the task force and the STS decided that there would only be one harvest for 2020. And again, just to recap, the analysis will cover a 4-year time period. That analysis period will cover July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2020. So participants should be submitting surgical dates up through June 30th of 2020 for this harvest. Also, a friendly reminder that it is not necessary to submit the entire 4-year analytic period. So for example, let's say you participated in the fall 2019 harvest and you submitted data up through 6/30/2019. And let's say you have not gone back and touched any of that previous data, you haven't done any updates. So if you haven't gone back and done any updates to that previously submitted data, then you would only need to submit data for July 1, 2019 through 6/30/2020 for this current harvest. So just know that that previously submitted data, it is in the data warehouse. That information, that data was transferred over to IQVIA from BCRI, so that data is here in the data warehouse, and there's no need to resubmit that data if no cleanup has occurred. Let's see here. The submission deadline for this current harvest is set for Friday, October the 16th, and the last date to opt out of this harvest is scheduled for Tuesday, October the 20th. For our public reporting will resume in 2021 and will include data from this 2020 harvest. The public reporting task force and surgeon leaders are working to enhance the STS public reporting website for 2021. So please stay tuned for additional public reporting updates, and information will be coming soon. Before I move, I also wanted to point out several data managers had reached out to me concerning the analytic period and how that would impact their their U.S. News reporting. Just know that U.S. News is aware of the STS's plans for the harvest, and if you have any questions regarding how U.S. News plans to adjust their survey or their plans for reporting, you would just need to reach out to U.S. News directly for additional clarification on their plans. Alrighty. On today's call, IQVIA will be previewing the primary procedure mismatch report. as well as the Mortality Eligibility Summary report. Before IQVIA gets into their preview, I just wanted to briefly touch on these reports before passing things over to IQVIA. As many of you are aware, the rules for determining primary procedure are currently found in the report overview and interpretation guide. We realize that overview and interpretation guide is a very large document. I believe it's up to a little over 100 pages. So to help our data managers, we are actually pulling that information out, the primary procedure rules for determining the primary procedure. We're pulling that information out, and I will be posting that out on the STS website. And my plan, I do plan to have that posted by the end of this week, sooner rather than later. Actually, I'd like to try and get it over to marketing today for posting, if at all possible. But this document will be posted under the data collection, under the version 341 data collection resources, under the additional resources section of the congenital webpage. The next report that will be previewed today is the Mortality Eligibility Summary. In the table to the right, I wanted to provide a list of the variables that are used to determine mortality eligibility. And many of you know that if one of the variables listed in the table, any one of these 8 variables, has a missing or unknown value, an operation record is considered missing for the purposes of the mortality analysis. If more than 10% of your overall operation records for the reporting time period are missing, then your data will be excluded from the mortality analysis. So again, Melanie and her team will cover more in this. Most of you, this was a report that information that was available to you in your previous data quality report. We know this is important information for you. This report is necessary for you all to get your harvest complete. So IQVIA, again, will be previewing this report for you a little bit later in the summary, in the webinar, but I just wanted to provide this table for you for resource purposes. I don't know if maybe you can print out the slide, keep it handy, use as a resource while you're doing your data cleanup. So also, in the works, again, the Mortality Eligibility Summary, many of you are aware that STS's effort to improve data completeness for operative mortality. So in addition to that 10% threshold that we just discussed, more specific thresholds were implemented for surgery dates of 2015, 2016, and 2017 to current. So in order to ensure the highest level of accuracy for reporting operative mortality, these additional thresholds were implemented to determine your eligibility for a composite score rating. So for all cases performed from January 2015 through December 2015, operative mortality fields must not have more than 10% missing. For cases performed for 2016, your operative mortality fields must not have more than 5% missing. And then for cases performed on or after January 2017, your operative mortality fields must not have more than 2% missing. And also it's important to keep in mind for the 2 variables, mortality database discharge status and mortality 30-day status, if either of those are coded as unknown, then that record is considered incomplete, because unknown is considered as missing data when it comes to analysis. So, and again, IQVIA is going to go over this report to help you in your data cleanup efforts so you can ensure that your data is clean and eligible for mortality and composite. Alrighty, and next up we have our AQO update. AQO is coming soon, as you all are very aware. Our very first virtual AQO is coming up September 29th through October the 2nd. And our congenital heart session is going to be held on Friday, October the 2nd. Many of you are aware STS did release early bird pricing for registration. And I have a quick poll I wanted to launch in regards to AQO. So if you all could take a second to answer, let me go ahead and release that. So let's see here. I'm going to launch the poll. So our polling question is, are you planning to attend AQO? Yes, I've taken advantage of the early bird pricing and already registered. Yes, I plan to attend but have not yet registered. And our third option is no, unfortunately, I am unable to attend AQO this year. I'll let that run for just a minute here. I still see people are still voting. So again, just keep in mind that these early bird registration prices are good through Monday, September the 7th. Let's see here. Like some people are still voting. And I'm going to go ahead and see here. I'm going to end the polling and I'm going to share the results. Hopefully you all are able to see the results. So it looks like about 27% have registered and taken advantage, and 41% are planning to attend but have not yet registered. And unfortunately, some will not be able to join us at AQO this year. And if you're unable to join us this year, we do look forward to having you join us next year. So hopefully just remember that early bird pricing is good through Monday, September the 7th. All right. Let's see here. And again, all of our AQO information can be found out on our AQO webpage. If you have any questions about AQO, please feel free to email us directly. You can reach myself, or you can email Emily Conrad at econrad@sts.org with any questions surrounding AQO. Just please feel free to reach out to us, as we are happy to assist in any way possible. So next, I'm going to turn things over to Melanie and her team for our IQVIA update. Mel? Joe?
Thanks, Carol. So this is Joe. I'm going to go over the updates that first occurred on last weekend on the 22nd. So looking at STS 3249, the uploader was triggering a critical error on the anti-fib transexemic inf rate data variable. So if you were submitting a decimal value for this field, it was not being accepted when it should have been. So that has been resolved as of this weekend. So if you were encountering that critical error that prevented any of your records from getting into the database, you should be able to resubmit those files now, and they should make it through. All right, looking to next month, for September 2020 on the currently slated for the 12th. So starting with the missing variable report, we have STS 3356 in regard to the status at 365 days after surgery. That variable has been reported as not appearing when it should and appearing when it should not. And so we are looking at updating the logic to include that 1 year logic so that should address both scenarios. 3389, for this one, the other specify field, when other is selected for chromosomal abnormality, that was triggering as missing even when the genes with identified abnormality field was filled out. And so on the current version, that gene data element should satisfy the other specify for chromosomal abnormality, and that will be updated so that it does not get flagged against you as missing when the gene field is answered. For 3501, on the dashboard, we're looking to update logic to exclude cases for operative mortality if the patient is still in the hospital. So if that patient's still in hospital variable is set to yes, the patient will no longer be flagged as missing for operative mortality. And then 3641, also the dashboard report, there is an issue where the op type section of that report was no longer appearing, and so that should be corrected in the September release. All right, and next we are looking at issues currently under review. These are things that have been reported to us that we are investigating, that we are looking into what's going on with these issues, starting with 3527. The uploader is showing critical errors, mismatch on uploader case count. So this is one that was reported to us by one specific site. It does not appear at this time to be any sort of wide-reaching issue. The site had reported a discrepancy between the number of records reflected in the total number of records uploaded and the number of records that were actually uploaded or updated. So we haven't seen this occurring with anyone else. We are looking into this site-specific report. So just letting you know that if you do experience an issue where you feel that your uploader count is not matching like it should, do reach out to us and let us know, and so that we can look into your situation. STS 3560. So this is another one that was specific to an individual site, and even for that one site, it was only impacting a couple of their records. So this was a very isolated situation, but we did have an issue where that site, for I think it was literally 2 of their records, their surgeon name was showing up as missing, even though it was populated on the case form, and so that is something that we are investigating. STS 3565. There were a report for a site that was saying that they were noticing the CPBTM and a few other data elements that they had listed were not appearing on the missing variable report when they were actually missing. And so that one is still under investigation. We're still looking into the cause of that and just verify why or whether that is happening. Excuse me. Next, 3523. So for this one, the error is no longer occurring. So this seems to have been resolved. The report was that we had a site saying that they were getting an error message that indicated that the intubation date and time cannot be later than the current date. And so that no longer is happening, but if you do if you do notice that you're getting this error when you should not, let us know so that we can look into it for you. STS 3407. The missing variable report is showing that the valve explant model number for the 4th explant is missing when there was not a 4th explant per the parent field. So we are looking into fixing that. That is a pretty straightforward issue. So obviously, if there's you shouldn't be expected to have a model number for a explant that wasn't there. So that will be reviewed and hopefully fixed in the near future. STS 3225. So this one has to do with the autologous transfusion data element that is appearing as missing when it is actually on the form. And this does appear to be limited to version 3.3 records. So that is what we're looking into at this time. STS 3604. So we did have this was another one that was a site-specific question. So they did provide us with a list of variables that they were concerned were not appearing correctly on the missing variable report. So we are looking into those reports of that as well. And then finally, STS 3587, the transfusion of blood products after 24 hours post-procedure data element is appearing on the MVR when the question was answered in the site's vendor system. And so we are looking at the parent field for that question for version 3.3 records. And we're also looking into another part of that same report that was saying that the percentage of missing was greater than 100. I think it was showing as 112% missing or something like that. And so that bug is encompassing both the incorrectly displaying denominator for that report, as well as the parent field mismatch for the version 3.3 records to get that aligned. So we are looking into getting that fixed. All right, and next tab, I think we will turn things over to Melanie.
Thanks, Joe, and hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So also in September, we do have some targeted updates that also will occur on September the 12th, that weekend. We have an update for the MBR and the dashboard that's just related to an update to the premature birth label. So it will be specific in regards to indicating that it's for neonates and infants. And then the big ticket items that we have coming are the new reports. And we have a new report that will be for the case eligibility for inclusion for mortality analysis, and also the primary procedure mismatch report. We will be going into more details and showing you a demo of those reports during today's session. So just wanted to let you know that in September, we do have those targeted. Let's go to the next slide. So just a recap of where we are right now. So since we started, I know that we've had, of course, those two reports that we're going to jump into in a few listed as coming, and now we finally can go ahead and say that we'll be releasing those in September. So those are basically going to have a good check mark next to them. And then, of course, once we do the harvest close and the data is then sent to DCRI, they will conduct the analysis on the data and then return that information to IQVIA, and we will be presenting those results in a new dashboard report, which will be the new risk-adjusted dashboard report. So that one is still going to be upcoming. So this slide will be updated the next time we go around. Okay, so I think we have a poll that's going to come up. So if we want to go ahead before getting over to the new reports, we do have a couple poll questions. So let's see what we have as the first one. And this is covering the information that Leanne covered earlier. So if you can take a moment and take a look. The first question, will the primary procedure you choose in your vendor software and submit to IQVIA always be the same primary procedure DCRI assigns when your data goes to analysis? And you have 3 choices there. So we'll give a moment. And I don't know if we're ready for results yet, Leanne.
Yeah.
Give it another moment.
We've still got some results are still coming in. Hold on, let's give it a couple more seconds. I know we had some pretty long answers there, so
yeah.
All right, looks like it's starting to slow down. So I'm going to go ahead and end it, Mel, and I'm going to share the results.
And it looks like the majority of you selected no.
Mm-hmm.
So the second option, no. There may be times when the primary procedure assignment changes at analysis. This is based on stat scores and exceptions. And if I code a lower stat score as primary, DCRI may change it based on the rules for assigning primary procedure. So that is the answer. And I think we have one more poll question.
This is as Leanne is watching that one. I was just going to say, if those three people marked that they have no clue, and they would repeat it, if you could please, I think we have access to who answered that way, but if you could please email Leanne and Leanne or myself, we can work with you and help explain that further, so you have all the tools to do your job the best.
Great. Thank you, Carol. All right, I just launched our next poll, Melanie.
Yep, next poll. How many variables are considered when looking at the eligibility for case inclusion? So Leanne had that nice chart up, that table with all of the variables. So let's see what those options are and see what you guys respond.
Leanne, do you want to flip back? Do you want to go back to the chart? Okay.
Yep, let me go. Yep, I was getting ready to do just that. Let's see here. And there we go. Help.
Go open book.
Everyone, it's an open book test. And I'm not seeing anyone vote. So let me know if you guys are having issues with the poll. If you could just let us know. But
actually, I don't see where I can select option. Maybe that's what's happening for them.
I don't know. Let me relaunch.
Oh, you're sharing the polling results. I think you have to relaunch it, Leanne.
Okay. Sorry, guys. There we go.
There we go.
Sorry, guys. Totally my fault. User error. It's been a long day already. There we go.
It is okay. Now you got the chart and questions all in one spot.
There we go. There we go. All right. It looks like most everybody's got this one, Mel. So There we go. And let's try sharing those results again. There we go. Now I got it.
Yeah, there we go. Yep,
We're up. Slightly going crazy here on this end.
it is okay. So yes, the very first option, we have 3 mortality fields and 5 other fields. And all of those are again on that slide that Leanne has up.
Great.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Mel.
All right, so
All right. Let's
now
get
we
back.
can get back into the good stuff, the new stuff.
Yep.
Let me introduce
We're gonna.
Rhonda. Yep. So we have new reports to share with you all. Rhonda Murphy is a senior business analyst on our team, and she is going to be walking you through those 2 new reports. So Rhonda, over to you.
Hi, thank you, Melanie. Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about the primary procedure mismatch and mortality eligibility summary report. Previously, this was 2 reports, and based off of feedback, the 2 reports were combined into one, so that you just have one spot to go to generate this report. And let me share my screen now. And
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stop share,
okay, thank you.
and then you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I can see it. Looks good.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. So I've logged into the STS and national database at IQVIA, and once I'm logged into the application, I would want to navigate here to this operational reports page, and then using this little arrow here, I can expand and see the new report link, as well as a brief summary of what this report will provide us. And so this specific report here is going to provide us a procedure mismatch report that identifies operation records where the primary procedure that was assigned by the participant does not match the primary procedure assigned by the data warehouse. And then there's a second tab that's going to be the case eligibility for inclusion in mortality analysis report that provides the summary of cases identified as ineligible for risk analysis. So clicking this link and using the drop down here to select a date range, these date ranges do match the harvest time period. So whichever one I wanted to view, I would select and then apply the parameters. And once I apply those parameters, these 2 report tabs are presented to me here. Initially, I land on the op type 1 and 2 case eligibility summary report. And I will view this first, and then I can click over on this other tab here to navigate to the primary procedure mismatch. So starting here with the op type 1 and 2, I just wanted to show the navigation into the report, but we did meet yesterday with surgeon leadership and reviewed this report, and they had provided some feedback on how to enhance this report to make this more usable for end users. And so I'm going to quickly flip over to the updated version of this report so that we can see those enhancements. And just note that that is still, it's a mock-up link that I'm going to use. So there may still be a few changes that are coming, but this would give us a better idea of what this report is going to look like once we've actually generated it. And so I will show this screen instead, which is that same report, just with the updates that we are going to bring in as part of that surgeon leadership feedback. So in our top section, actually I'll start with the filters panel. So here on the left-hand side, we have filters available so that you can drill down into a specific year, a certain patient ID or group of patient IDs. If I wanted to look at multiples, I can do that control click and select many or one value by just clicking one row. And then there is the all option if I want to see all. We have the ineligible or eligible filter, so I can focus in on just my ineligible cases. In addition to focusing in on the ineligible cases, I can further refine that to look at, of my ineligible cases, which ones are missing the mortality variables. So I can specifically focus in on those records. And then also I can focus in on which data version I want to look at in my results. So up here in the summary table, I'll start with clicking on this 2019 row. And so I'm presented with the 90 records that make up this date range here. So the total number of records is 90. So I'm now filtered down to those 90 records. And let's say I just wanted to see the ineligible cases. I can uncheck this ineligible box, and now I'm filtered down to just those ineligible cases. And then if you'll notice here in the table, each one of those variables that Leanne was showing in her table are listed here as columns. We do notice that there's one missing mortality column that's being added right now, so we will get that hospital discharge column in here. But each one of those variables are in here as columns, and then there's an X marking exactly which variable was missing. It could be one or many. And so you can quickly see here at a glance that this record here was ineligible because we're missing the 30-day status variable. There's also a hyperlink to that case so that I can click on this link and be taken to that exact case so I can review it in its entirety. If I wanted to further refine this list, because out of the 7 variables, there are just 3 that relate to mortality. If I was just interested in looking at records that are missing mortality, I can uncheck no here and further refine my list to get just those records. So there were 30 where mortality was missing. That is also described here in the notes section. We're still working on further refining these notes so that they're clear, concise, and meaningful. So you may see some additional updates to the verbiage here, but our goal is to give the user enough information here to understand exactly what it is that we're viewing here in the report. So what gets considered into the missing or unknown calculation, what those variables are that we aren't including inpatient records in our calculation. We also dynamically add an asterisk to, we're still working the details of this asterisk, but if a date range does not represent a full year, so January to December 31st represents a full year, so there's no asterisk, but January 1st to December 15th, that is a partial year. And so we do show an asterisk and we indicate that that is a partial year of data. I have selected some filters here to look at the report, but if I want to now reset my report to go back to how it was when I first ran it, I can here click the little X's next to my filters, and now my filter is back to, my report is back unfiltered and back to the results that I initially generated. So that gets us through the case eligibility and summary report. I'll now switch over to the primary procedure mismatch summary report, which again, let me just real quick show the UI. So similar, even though I'm in the mock-up, it's the same process. I would go over to this tab here, and this is the primary procedure mismatch summary report. I'll show it in the mock-up so that way you can see the updates that we made here to this report based off of that surgeon leadership feedback yesterday. So on the primary procedure mismatch report tab, again, we have those filters for the year, the patient ID, and the data version. Clicking on a row in the summary section will bring those records down and display them into the record detail section. We've added, with the with the procedure codes. Here, we've also added the procedure description so that all of the information is available here within the case list. So this primary procedure mismatch report shows us the participant entered procedure value and compares that to the procedure assigned by the data warehouse. Those rules, as Leanne had showed us in the slide, are detailed in the report overview and interpretation guide. So if there are any questions about that assignment, you could find those rules there. It's based off of the highest stat score, with the exception of certain cases where there's an additional logic that is considered when making that assignment. And so that can be found in the report overview and interpretation guide. There is also a note here, as we saw in the polling question and we discussed earlier, that the primary procedure selected in the software may not match the primary procedure ultimately assigned by DCRI during their analysis. So there is that one caveat to this report to keep in mind as you're reviewing the results. Other than that, I believe that was the conclusion of the review of the two new reports here. I'll pause now for.
Okay, I'll take it over from here. I think we were able to cover everything that we wanted to share with the group. And Leanne, we can go ahead and go back to the presentation. Also just wanted to, and I know we put it in the chat, but within the view, we don't want you to get thrown off where you saw there was an option for cases. That is an additional option just based on Rhonda's login. So please don't focus on the fact that you saw an additional menu option. That is just because of the role that she logged in to do the demo. So of course we are used to seeing the first option within the menu to of course see the uploader. And again, depends on roles of what you're going to see in that left side menu option. But let's go ahead and go back to the slide. I think we're now at the point where we're going to support overview, I think.
Yes, yep. Let me share my screen. Hold on just one second. I'm having a little technical difficulty, per usual.
No.
Let's see here. All right, hold on.
It happens, but you're fine.
It is happening today. All right, let me share my screen. Here we go. Screen 2, share. Okay, all right, and let me get to our slide. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for your patience.
And no problem.
And
thank you, Rhonda, for going through that demo. Thank you so much, Rhonda.
Yes, thank you, Rhonda. And these last remaining slides are just to review everything. The IQVIA support plan, you're all very familiar with this slide as well. As you know, when you initially contact IQVIA, you're connected with their support. You can reach them via phone or email at the contact information located here on the screen. Once you contact IQVIA, you are connected with Tier 1. There is live support available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. IQVIA will either answer your question. If they are unable to answer your question, they'll issue you a ticket number, and your ticket will be routed to either Tier 2 support for follow-up, or your question will be routed to STS. If STS will address your concerns. If we're unable to answer your question, it's analytic in nature. We'll work with DCRI to get a response to you. And also, if Tier 2 needs to work with the database vendor directly, they would work with the vendor directly in special circumstances. Again, you're all familiar with the support plan. This information is also posted out on the STS website. Again, just a listing of resources available to you. You have the STS National Database webpage. You have your tech support resources and the phone number. You also have the STS National Database feedback form. We do encourage you all to use this form. to share any feedback, good or bad. We'd love to hear your ideas for enhancements within the platform. So please use this form to provide any feedback. Again, we do like to hear from you. Resource documents that are available out on the website, you have our contact information. All of our webinar information is posted out on the website. We have FAQs, our Go Live checklist, support documents, as well as training videos are also located out on the STS website. Again, my contact information is listed here. You have my email as well as my direct phone. Please feel free to reach out to me directly with any questions. If you have any questions related to database operations in regards to your participation agreements, participant contact updates, your financial, any financial type questions, again, please feel free to reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org for our database operational questions. If you're not sure whom your question should be directed to, please, again, just feel free to reach out to me directly and I can get you your question answered, or if I can't answer it, I can get you connected with the appropriate staff member. Before we move into our questions, I just wanted to cover our next webinars, the schedule. Again, on Thursday, we have our very first new data manager webinar. So we hope all of our new data managers are able to join us for that. And that is going to be this Thursday, August the 27th at 11 a.m. Central. Our next user group call is scheduled for September 8th at 12 p.m. Central. And then our next monthly webinar will be held on September the 15th at 12 p.m. Central. So I'm working on our monthly webinar to provide a little bit more educational type information for our monthly webinar. So if you have any ideas on education topics that you would like to be covered, please feel free to send me those ideas. We'd love to make sure that we're sharing educational content on topics that are important to you guys. So again, please feel free to share any of your ideas with me for topics for our monthly educational webinars. All right, that's all that I have. So I think we'll just go ahead and turn things over to you all for the Q&A. Again, please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A function. We'll get through as many questions as we can. And we do encourage you to provide feedback during this time. This is your opportunity to chat with us and to let us know your thoughts and ideas. If you have any feedback, again, we're happy to work with you, and we're here to listen. So if the team's ready, I think we can go ahead and start tackling our questions.
Ready.
All right. All right, let's roll. Let's see, our first question from Kelly. Just to confirm, the primary procedure mismatch and mortality eligibility reports will be available for use by September 12th, correct?
Correct.
Yes. All right. And our next question from Kelly, she had a follow-up. Does the case eligibility report take into account the variable patient remains hospitalized during this episode of care? So, and I believe we did have a footnote here. Inpatients are included in the total case count column results, and patients are excluded from the number of ineligible cases and the percent missing or unknown column calculations. Did you have anything to add there, Mel?
Yep, that's it. You're
Okay.
going to get that in total number of records for that surgery year, but they are excluded in the calculations for ineligible cases and the percent missing or unknown. So we made sure that we had to call that out.
Thank you. Let's see here. All right, so our next question. So if your dates of surgery are not exactly from the first date of January to 31st of December, that is considered a partial year. So I think they're looking at the asterisk on the surgical date range columns.
And I think we actually needed to come back to, we needed to come back to STS and look, because we're getting those defined years. So I think one of the requirements was to show when it's a partial year, and we needed to come back to you to clarify if any of those years that you all are defining is a partial. So actually at this point, we were using this as a placeholder. So this needs to be confirmed, like, based on those ranges. If it's not a partial year, then we would not be showing the asterisk. So I think we we need to just take that back and just get that clarification. We were just showing that if it is a partial year that is being displayed, that we have the capability to at least indicate to the end user that it's partial, to at least give that heads up. So that may change when we have the report out there, just because we just needed to get that further clarification. So we'll share that with the group once we get that confirmed.
Right. And our next question, are you saying that DCRI may still choose a different primary procedure than what the IQVIA platform is displaying? And that disclaimer, Kelly, 9 times out of 10, you know, there's always a slight, very, very, very slight chance that once the data gets over to analysis, something may change. But DCRI and IQVIA are following the same rules. So the primary procedure mismatch report is following the exact same rules that are going in analysis. But just on one slight chance it may happen, I mean, we're just letting you know that there is a very slight chance that it may change. It's not likely, but it has the potential to possibly happen, if that answers your question, if that's helpful. Let's see, Ruthie, reviewing primary procedure report used in demo, it showed participant coded 1010 Fontan and STS primary was 540 PA plasty, which is incorrect because the Fontan is a benchmark procedure with PSF with the procedure-specific factors. We'll be able to beta prior to launch to address issues. This report still be trumped by what DCR assigns during analysis.
Yeah, this is Carol.
So,
If you could go back or to the screenshot that showed the primary, I think it was the primary procedure mismatch or the next one, and it had Fontan listed on there, and that was Igor's comment too.
And we're using mock data. It's mock data, so we're plugging in. So this is not using real case data. It is just to show you the visual. So we do apologize if we had that discrepancy, but this is just a mock-up, so that we can show you the functionality of this. It's not using actual case data. It's just giving you the code is going to be compared to this code, but there was not a quick check. So we do apologize if that caused confusion, but once the report is generated with live data, it runs against the actual rules that have been established, which also includes the exclusions, inclusions, rules that have been used by DCRI also.
Great. Thanks, Melanie. Let's see here. Was the issue resolved where a patient has an index operation on December 31st and the subsequent operation of no CPB on January 1 from the same admission? Does this patient...
I'm familiar with that one. Yes, Owen. That was resolved, and that I can go back and find the ID, but that would have been resolved in the August 8th deployment that happened. But I'll go back and double check what the ID is so I can provide that.
Great. Thank you. All right. Once data is analyzed, will this report be broken down into spring, fall, or will it be a combined report, seeing as we are combining what would have been 2 harvests?
This is Donna. I think that's a really good question, and we've seen some questions from other people saying they want to be able to subset their data into those different harvest windows. So we'll need to talk about that internally with IQVIA to see how the filters can be used to do that, as well as with DCRI, because the hierarchical analysis for the star rating would require them to do 2 analyses, which they were planning to do anyway. So we'll have to talk through the details of how that's going to work. But that's a good question. Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah, that is a great question. Thank you, Heidi. All right. Our next question, is there a way to view report tabs based on reporting period opposed to calendar year? So is there a way to review report tabs based on reporting period versus calendar year?
Well, we actually are showing the drop down is the reporting year, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly with that.
Mhm.
Second, but that is the actual reporting year.
Right.
And that's where we get the predefined reporting, well, reporting period, not said reporting year, reporting period.
Mhm.
So you'll have that opportunity to select the reporting period prior to generating the report. And so it will then pull in, of course, all of the surgery years that you see listed. So I think this
Right.
also
So
goes
that,
back to with the partial. I think we may
Mhm.
need to, and again, this is just a clarification, and I think this is reinforcing it. Based on those reporting periods, I don't think that we would need the indicator because those
Mhm.
are set. Those are set. So that may be
Right.
causing some confusion.
There's
So
something we need.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. We'll definitely discuss that after this call with IQVIA. Our next question, do you have a contact that you can suggest for us to reach out to US News to see what their plan is? I personally, Heidi, I don't know of anyone. I don't know if Donna or others
Hi, this is Donna.
have anyone.
Yep, Dr. Shahian had us reach out to US News to let him know issues about public reporting and changes that were made related to the COVID issue. So US News said to just keep them posted. I think that some of the surgeon leaders on the congenital call said they weren't basing any of their decisions on harvest timing or report feedback. The goal isn't to meet US News and World Report needs, it's to meet the needs of the participants and respond to their challenges related to COVID and furloughs and those kinds of things. But it sounded based on, I don't know if it was Jeff Jacobs or Dr. Shahian who talked directly with folks from US News, but they were facing similar issues with some of their other data sources. So we'll try and find out more information. We have a task force call coming up, and we'll see who, if anyone, has been in touch since the last call with US News representative.
Yeah, we've got our task force call tonight, Donna, so we could, I'll add that, try and keep that note on the agenda so we can try and follow up and get more information there. So we'll follow up, Heidi, if we have additional information. Our next question is from Janet, and I think she's talking about the date issue, that reporting period issue we were just discussing. Will that work on the risk-adjusted data by the fiscal year, by the calendar year, sorry. Yeah, will that work on the risk-adjusted data by calendar year? Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm here,
Sorry.
Leanne. Sorry, I don't know. My mouse is not working. I need a new battery. The risk adjusted, would it work on, sorry, the question went away from my
Yeah,
screen.
hold on. Let's see here. It did. I got a little quick there with my with the response. It says, will that work in the risk-adjusted data by calendar year? Talking about the tab, searching for the calendar year versus reporting period.
But for the risk adjusted, we're also displaying that back by, it's not by calendar year, that's reporting year also that are defined.
All right, our next question. Are you planning to resolve the MVR issues by September 12th?
So we listed all of the items that are going to be addressed in the September 12th release. We do have additional items that we are currently reviewing that may not make the September 12th date. So we do have those items that have been identified and fixed and ready for the 12th. Some issues related to the MVR are site specific. So again, with looking at the data that is provided with those sites, we're looking to see how we can do, we can, you know, make sure that we have corrections in, but if that's site specific, then that would not require a release. So if it's something that we're able to determine within the data and make that correction within the data, then that would be resolved at that time. But again, we're looking at those other items that Joe covered, especially the ones that are site specific. We're working with those sites to see what we can do in regards to resolving those.
Great. Thank you, Melanie. Our next question, has any facility had a successful submission at this point? And the answer to that, yes, we've heard from some participants that they have been able to successfully submit their data.
We know that, and on top of that, we know that Dr. Meyer's site, our chair of the task force, his site has been successfully to submit their data to for this harvest.
Phoenix as well, we have had a successful harvest. We're just waiting for the enhanced reports to make sure everything's okay.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I know a lot of these enhanced reports, the case eligibility, the mortality report, and the primary procedure report are going to, we know how important those are to you all, and IQVIA has been working very hard to get these reports done and available to you all. So we're very excited and looking forward to these getting released and helping you all to complete your harvest. So we're excited about getting these out to you all. My next question, for the combined procedures that are not entered correctly as a combined code, what will happen to them in the DCRI report? I know, Donna, I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? I think anything that is entered and would be corrected over on the analytics side, they would be would be analyzed as a combined procedure.
Right, they would follow the rules.
Yeah, they would follow the rules, yeah. Yeah, and I understand, I know many of you have asked for this combined, the combination procedure into the data quality report, and I have been working on a list. I do have a list of things that you all have requested. So the combination procedure information is something that we are looking at adding to the data quality report. So that will be coming soon. So I understand that that is important to you all as well. So that is in the works for the enhancement. So will the new database managers call on Thursday have some time designated for Q&As like on this call? Also, will it be recorded and available somewhere as a reference? So yes, Joanne, there will be a Q&A at the end of the end of the call for you to all to ask questions, and it will be recorded and it will be posted out on the STS website, the webinars page, for you all to download and share internally as needed. So that will be available, and I hope you guys are able to join us for that call. I have we're coming to the close of the hour here. One last chance to get in a couple of questions if anybody has a question. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and thank you, IQVIA, for previewing those two reports. We're really excited about them, and we know they're going to be a huge help to our data managers. So we look forward to getting those out and sharing with you all. And then it looks like Carol has just released another poll for everyone. So if you're able to answer, it says, have you been able to successfully harvest? We have yes, no, haven't attempted, and no, I can't get my data in. So if you could please respond to that poll, that'll be very helpful for us. And if you are one of those that no, I can't get my data in, we will be reaching out to you and working with you and seeing what we can do to help you, how we can help you, and work with you to get your data successfully submitted and into the data warehouse.
Sorry for the spelling mistakes, Leanne. I was typing fast.
That's okay, Carol.
This is Donna. I just wanted to say, I know as it's always stressful as we come up to a harvest date. I think it's more stressful than ever when everything's new and different. And please, if you're worried, if you're frustrated, if you're not getting the answers you need, reach out to us. The only way we can help you is if you reach out. And I know we've heard concerns about tier 1 and tier 2. If they're not meeting your needs, you know how to reach Leanne. This is Donna. All of our emails are on the website. If you're worried, we should be worried too. We don't want you to feel like you're abandoned or and there's no such thing as a stupid question. It's confusing, it's new, it's different, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We really want everyone to have a successful harvest.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Absolutely. Just wanted to share the poll. Carol shared the poll results up on the screen for everyone to see. And McCall, I see your issue there. You have some MDR issues that still have not been resolved. So I will have someone from Melanie's team reach out to you again directly to work with you and get those issues resolved. So they will be reaching out to you post-call. All right. Again, thank you, Donna. Thank you, Carol. Thank you, IQVIA team. We appreciate all your hard work. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on today's call. Again, as Donna stated, you have our contact information. Please feel free to reach out at any time. This is a tough transition. This is a tough year. We're all stressed out. We're all working hard. And we're all in this together. So please, please feel free to reach out. We understand you're frustrated, and we are here to work with you and help you. So with that, I hope you guys all have a great week. And thank you, everyone, for helping today. I appreciate all of you. I hope you guys have a great week.
Thanks, Leanne. Great job.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, team.